Hey guys, Toby Mathis here, and today we're going to go over the 15 rules of money. Before we dive in, I just want to give you kind of credentials so you understand why you should actually listen to what you're about to learn. I'm come from nothing, right? I'm just a tax attorney who's built up a company over the last 25 plus years. And I work with investors and high net worth individuals all the time. In fact, we do over 10,000 tax returns at my firm here every year working with investors. And we've learned a lot over the years, and I've learned a lot over the years just watching other people as well as putting it into practice. Myself and one of my business partners, we own over 300 individual properties, including apartment houses, commercial properties, warehouses, single family, duplexes, quads, 8-plex, 16-plex, you name it, storage. We own a lot of real estate and we have a lot of investments, including private investments as well as our company. And we've learned a few things over the years of watching the successful people and what they do. And what I'm going to share with you today is the 15 rules of money that I've learned over these years watching all of these parties and as they've grown. And I want to help you apply it to your situation and help other people as well, because wealth is not out of reach. It's absolutely something anybody could have if they learn these 15 rules of money. If you think I'm leaving one out or you want to add something, by all means, put it in the comments below. And if you could, like and subscribe right now. If you don't believe that there was value in what I'm presenting to you, undo that like later. It doesn't matter to me if I don't earn your like, but if you could, helps our algorithm. All right, let's dive in. 15 rules of money. Number one, that study after study has shown this. This is the biggest differentiator between the rich and the poor, and it's called Locus of Control. Quite simply, all it means is you believe you can affect your outcome. You believe that you can become wealthy. You believe that you control money as opposed to money controlling you. It's called Locus of Control. And repeatedly, it's shown as one of the biggest differentiators between those who achieve their wealth desires versus those who suffer. And it's just that simple belief. It's that checkup from the neck up. I use that phrase quite often. It's making sure that your mindset is set correctly so that then your beliefs are in line with that mindset. I believe I can control my own outcome, and that affects your behavior. When you don't believe that you can control things, then you just become a victim. And unfortunately, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So number one is locus of control. We see it over and over again. Number two is this thing called the rule of 72. Einstein said compound interest was the eighth wonder of the world. It's one of these things where this is how it works. If you take the interest rate you are earning on something and divide it into 72, that's how many years it takes for that investment to double. So for example, you're making 10%, divided into 72, 7.2 years. Your investment will double in 7.2 years. It's a game of doubling sometimes. I've seen that used by many people that I follow, and I happen to believe it is true. If I can take $10,000, make it 20, make it 40, make it 80, make it 160, that's what? The 10 to the 20, 20 to the 40, 40 to the 6, to the 80, 80 to the 160, 160 to 320, 320 to 640, 640 to $1 million, then I am 7 doubling away. So if I could put $10,000 away now, you may be saying, that's 49 years. Yep. But that's $1 million you have saved up, and you could invest one time. If I could accumulate $10,000 and stick it in there. Now, I know a lot of you guys are saying, hey, I don't have $10,000. If you did, you could literally put it in a tax advantage account and do that without having to worry. But you could create extreme wealth. And what we have seen over and over again is that principle has helped people that we would never expect would become millionaires. In fact, teachers was the third largest group in a national study of over 10,000 millionaires. The third largest group was teachers, the people that are not making a killing in wages, but what they are doing is putting their money away and allowing it to compound, having long careers. And at the end of that career, they've got a bucket of money sitting there because of this rule of 72, which is number two. Number three, and the 70-30 rule is what I'm going to be talking about. I've done full videos on this. In fact, 3 steps to creating perpetual wealth is really a lot on this and one of the next rules, but it's 70-30. And what that means is living off of 70% of your income. The 30 is 10, 10, 10, 10% giving, 10% paying off debt, 10% investing. And if you don't do the top two, like if, hey, I'm not in debt and I don't like giving, then 30% into investing. But it's living off of less than what you make. And the magic number, my experience, if you really want to get ahead, is live off of 70% of your take home and make sure that you are putting money into those other categories. Now, if you are somebody who is struggling and you say, there's no way, Toby, then I would say give time away to others, but force yourself to invest. I don't care if it's $1 a week, $2 a week, whatever it is, find a way to put money into an investment account, because that's going to trigger your mind so that you are paying attention to investing and you are going to learn it because you are doing it. It's the old Nike adage, just do it. You got to invest. You got to attack that debt. Debt enslaves you and makes you literally, there's a MasterCard, right? Well, who's the servant in that situation? It's you, right? So you don't want to be in that situation. You got to get out of debt. So the 70-30 rule is live off of 70%. Of the 30%, pay 10% to others. If you're not going to do that, then just apply it to number 3, which is investing. Number 2 is pay off your debt. Number 3 is investing. And if you do that, so if you're making $4,000 a month take home, live off of 7 times 4, what is that, $2,800. You got to do it. You got to buckle, tighten that buckle and do what you have to so that you can live the life that you want in the future. Otherwise, you're going to be in for a life of pain and suffering. So if you want to be successful, live below that means. I suggest the 70-30 rule. And then on the investment side, we use something called the 30-30-30-10 rule. And I'm going to stop right here and say, if you want to learn this in detail, I have a book out called Infinity Investing. I will give you a free ebook of Infinity Investing. All you have to do is write down below in the comments, free book. Just put free book. We'll send you a link so you can get it. And you can learn this in detail. It's CFP and other really smart investors got together and they use a diversification model. And the 30-30-30-10 rule is this. 10%, we'll start there, is cash or cash equivalents. It's your gold, it's your Bitcoin, it's your dollars, the US dollars. That is 10% of your assets. 30% goes into securities. And I'm going to suggest that you do dividend-paying securities like Dividend Kings, companies that have been increasing their dividend and paying them out for over 50 years. Dividend Aristocrats is 25 years. But I would suggest that you pick companies that pay you to own them. Also do indexes like SPY, VOO, if a good one that does covered calls to create additional income, which is also covered in the book, but it's just a strategy that allows you to get paid while you own the stock, is Kevin Simpson's DIVO, D-I-V-O. It's a great ETF, but you're going to put 30% of your money in that. 30% is going to be real estate or real estate equivalent. So when I say real estate, I don't mean your home. I mean income producing real estate. 30% of your investment assets, these are assets that are paying you. So if you do a REIT, Federal Realty Trust, Public Storage, these are REITs where they're paying out 90% of their income every year to their shareholders. You have money coming in, or you invest in properties yourself, single family, multifamily, commercial, income producing properties, 30%. And then the last 30% is managed money. It's letting somebody else make decisions for you or mirroring somebody else's decisions. So if you want to control it, but don't you make all the decisions. And the reason being is because there are experts out there that we could rely on, and you could have somebody else doing syndications, private investments, or just managing that portfolio for you. You are going to learn from them because you're going to communicate with them, and you're going to use a fiduciary to do it. So you're going to use like a CFP or somebody who has fiduciary credentials to manage your money, and you're going to learn as you're allowing them to manage a portion of your assets. And again, you could be putting that in syndicate. If you love real estate, you could be exposed to real estate on all counts other than the cash, right? You could be, hey, I want dividend producing stocks. I'm going to use REITs there. I'm going to invest in other real estate, and I'm going to do syndications. If you are a real estate buff, you could technically be very, very heavily weighted into real estate if you want to be, but we want to use these categories. The reason being is because it's really, really tough to screw it up when you do this type of diversification. I know there's people that say diversification is for fools. Elon Musk is all Tesla. No, it's not quite that simple. You want to make sure that one thing doesn't wipe you out. Elon Musk would be the first one to tell you he's rolled that dice. He took huge risks. He thought SpaceX was going to go under, Tesla could have gone under, and he was willing to take that risk because he could influence the outcome because he was personally involved in those businesses. We want investments, assets that are paying us, and we don't want that level of risk. We want to monitor that risk and make sure that even if we make mistakes, it doesn't hurt us. The next area, the next rule that I want to talk about is time versus timing. It's not about your timing the market. If you try to time the market, it's a fool's errand. Study after study has shown that it makes a very insignificant impact on trying to time the market of when it's at its worse and I'm investing at the perfect time. You'll be slightly ahead of somebody who just consistently invests or just invests one lump sum every year. Like, the numbers are not markedly different. I've seen back testing, I've seen multiple studies, and it's within percentages of each other. It's not massive. In the same token, if you invested every time the S&P hit the top, you would actually be ahead. Right? Everybody thinks, oh, the market crashes. No, the market's been going up consistently for decades, averaging about 10% per year. And if you play your cards right and you know what you're doing, you could actually be getting income off of your portfolio as well and enjoy that type of growth. But it's not about any crystal ball or knowing when to put the money in the market. That is you want to be consistently investing over time. Study after study has shown that you are going to do great the longer you have time in the market. In fact, one of my favorite things I've ever studies that I've looked at showed that if you invested consistently for 15 years, your chances of losing money go down to zero. And that's back testing every period of time. Even when the market crashed in the Great Recession in 2008, we went down 38%, you'd still be okay. But if you're investing in good dividend producing stocks, even then, I think the drawdown on the dividend aristocrats and dividend kings was less than 20% in there. Again, there's ways to monitor that risk and to minimize that risk, but the longer you have time in the market, the more likely it is you are going to do fantastic. If you are one of the first investors and you just pick a company, Coca-Cola, Berkshire Hathaway, Nvidia, you killed it. If you just invested in the SPY or VOO, you just invested in the S&P 500, the 500 largest companies in the stock market, if that's all you did, then you would absolutely be killing it if you invested a long period of time. Because again, you're talking about your money doubling every what would that be? Every 7 years. They're just absolutely killing it. Number 6, we want to talk about debt versus leverage. The rule is simple. Debt is on a depreciating item that's going to be consumed or is losing value, not like real estate. I don't want to confuse you with depreciation. Leverage is on a cash flowing asset. Debt doesn't pay me anything. Debt is on a liability. Debt is on the car that I buy. Let's say you went out and you bought a brand new car. If I have debt on that, I have a liability on a liability. In other words, that car is going to cost me money. It loses 20, 30% of its value the minute I drive it off the lot. And I'm going to have to pay interest on the debt as well. It's like a double punch. Boom, boom. If you want to implode yourself, have lots of debt. Have lots of credit card debt on consumables. Have lots of debt on liabilities and watch it spiral out of control. It almost always ends in bankruptcy or severe financial stress, as opposed to if you're investing in assets and you use leverage, like on real estate. If I'm investing what it means is leverage, the cost of it is if I am making more than the cost of that debt. So if I'm investing in real estate and I want it to be an asset, I have to look at all of its costs. And if it's positive, it's an asset. If it's negative, it's a liability. So if I'm investing in assets and I'm using debt against assets, then that asset will pay for that debt, and I am fine. When you hear about Robert Kiyosaki saying, I'm $1 billion in debt, what he's saying is I have $1 billion of leverage, and the appreciation on those assets has been astronomical. Like in the last, I think since COVID, real estate's gone up, 93% when you look at inflation. The value of real estate in most metropolitan areas, it's absolutely skyrocketed. Almost all the way around the country, we're seeing massive gains. We're talking about the equity in real estate during that period of time. I think the average American saw their equity go from 120 to 200,000. Remember looking at some of those stats going, like, it went up a lot. Well, you get that and it's paying for itself. And that's why leverage is so effective. That's why really wealthy people, you'll often see them saying, hey, I'm levering up. And a lot of times they'll have their stock account and they're borrowing against that to buy other assets. Those assets are paying off the debt and their stocks are still going up and producing income. That's what leverage is all about. And that's one of those things that you want to be very, very successful. You really want to learn it. And then the other thing is that debt, that servitude. Again, I think I mentioned this before, MasterCard, they don't even hide it. MasterCard, I am your master. They're literally saying the credit card, the debt, you are working for me. And you don't want to be enslaved by these organizations because that's what it is. You are now working to pay them. You're working your katush off. And so many people are in this situation, especially if they have, 20% interest rates, 22, 23% interest rates. It's absolutely nuts. They're working to pay their minimum payments and it's continuing to compound the wrong way. We don't want that. We don't want debt. We want leverage. All right. The other thing we want to learn is assets versus liability. Assets versus liability. Assets pay you money. Assets pay you money on a monthly basis. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. How do you know whether something is an asset or a liability? Look at your bank statement. Did it pay me? If it's paying you, it's an asset. If it's costing you, it's a liability. I get this argument all the time. Well, gold is an asset. No, it's actually it's nothing. It's not doing anything. And, if anything, it's going to cost you a little bit to house it, right? Maybe you're having to put it in your safe. But realistically, it is definitely not an asset. It is not an asset that is paying you. You cannot spend that money that it grows on and buy groceries. An asset pays you cash. So a dividend producing stock, for example, and it's paying you a dividend every quarter, or every month, or every year, whatever the period is, it's paying you. You can take that money and you can buy things with it. You could buy the groceries, you could pay the doctor, you could pay the dentist, right? If I am doing covered calls on those same securities, which is a fantastic thing. Again, free book, type it in there. You'll learn all these things in Infinity Investing. You can absolutely, I'll send you the free ebook. All you got to do is write free book in the comments. But if you're doing that, you can spend that money. I could take it out and I could buy things with it. That's an asset. A liability takes the money out of my account. So you have a lot of real estate people that own a lot of liabilities. My house, it's a liability. I'm sorry. It might be appreciating, but you're not living off of it. If I live off of it, I am taking a debt against it and I'm going to have to pay that debt. And I know a lot of people who are really suffering because of that debt. Why are we always, when interest rates go up, why are people immediately like, oh, I can't sell my house now? Because they can't afford the new debt on the house. Everything else they're paying. It's already costing me a bunch of money to have that house. I have to maintain it. I have to continue to put money into it. It depreciates, which means you have to replace parts of it all the time. That's a cost. That's a liability. I have to pay it. Liabilities stink. Liabilities bleed us. Assets feed us. And you got to look at that boat, your car, your RV, all your toys, all that stuff. Those are liabilities. And you want to make sure that you are not getting debt against a liability and that you understand that the key to wealth is not having to work for your money. And that's going to get there by buying assets, not liabilities. You got to have assets that pay you, whether you're on vacation, whether you're sleeping, whatever it is, you're going to buy things that are paying you constantly. Next one. Next rule is taxes tell. What does that mean? Taxes tell. That means that if you look at the tax code, it'll tell us what to invest in. Depending on what your situation is, it may tell you something different than it tells me, right? The tax code will tell us, depending on what we're doing. Like, hey, if I have a bunch of passive income, you might be looking at it going, wait, I have a bunch of passive income. I can use passive losses to offset that. It might be telling you to invest in real estate, for example. It might be telling you to be a silent partner in a business. It might be telling you to invest in dividends. Hey, I have Social Security income in, I am below $92,000, I'm married, and I don't want to make my Social Security taxable, but I need money. I would like to have extra money. You should be investing in dividends. Why? Qualified dividends are taxed as long-term capital gains, which is zero if you are making less than $92,000 or in that range. It moves every year. So right around 90 right now, it's going to keep going up. Plus you have your standard deduction. So you could be making $100 and some thousand a year if you're married, filing jointly, and pay nothing on the dividends that you receive. That is telling me what I should be investing in, what I should be focusing on, right? If I have a bunch of passive loss carry forward, it is screaming at you. The tax code is saying the passive income that you make right now, you don't pay tax on. Maybe you should be considering that. Taxes tell us quite often. The other thing taxes tell us is we could look at millionaires in this country and say, what do they do? The vast majority have 3 or more lines of income, different types of income. We have our active income. We have profits off of businesses that we participate in, profits off of businesses that we don't participate in. We have long-term, short-term capital gains. We have dividends. We have interest. We have all these different types, royalty income. We have different types of income. And understanding what those are will allow us to make intelligent decisions about what we invest in and how we grow. And it makes a huge difference. The guy that works at In-N-Out Burger is paying taxes that somebody who's a real estate investor does not. And it always comes up and they say, so unfair, so-and-so made this much money and they didn't pay as much tax as this person over here. Different types of income create different results. Congress wrote it and said, here's the incentives we would like you to do. If you invest in real estate, for example, and you're paying taxes, it's because you don't own enough real estate. They're literally saying, here's a situation in which you can make money forever. You could even buy new real estate. You could sell and buy more real estate and not pay tax on that. And then when you die, we're just going to step that basis up. And if your heirs sell it, they don't have to pay tax. That's screaming at you as to what you should be investing in. And you should listen to what those tax rules are telling us, because they will tell us how to do things in an efficient manner, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. It's not that top line, it's that bottom line that actually goes into your bank account. That's the big one. Next big one. This is for all you folks that are out there thinking about buying a home. I'm just going to call it the 5% rule. And here's a simple way to look at it. If you can rent a house for less on an annual basis for less than 5% of its fair market value, for 5% or less, you should rent the house. You shouldn't buy that house, right? So if there's $1 million house and I could rent that house for $2,000 a month, I'm renting that house. Do not buy that house, right? It's the cost of owning a home is going to be around that 5% mark between the property taxes, insurance, maintaining that home. I want to be wise about this. A lot of times people will buy more home than they need. You know, they go to the realtor and the realtor says, how much home can you afford? Let's see how much we could get a loan for, right? And they're not saying how much home do you need. They're saying how much home, because then they're going to sell you the biggest house. They're going to get the biggest commission. They're going to try to sell you a house that's the most expensive because they get paid more on it. And I'm not saying anything negative against realtors. I don't blame you. And a lot of people are like, yeah, let's do that. They're not saying, what's the cost of owning that home? How much is it going to cost me? And then people are surprised. They buy a house and they don't realize, oh my gosh, all these repairs and fixing. And if you bought an older home, I have to redo the plumbing. I have to redo the roof. There's an AC unit that I got to replace. All these things are very expensive. Property taxes are expensive. If you live in a state like Florida, the insurance is ungodly expensive, right? It depends on your area and what it costs. You should actually calculate that. But I'm just going to say, if you're just debating between renting a house and buying a house, I'll tell you, I'll make no bones about it. I rented a house when I moved to Las Vegas in 2007. People are like, Toby, you could buy it. You had a whole bunch of properties, da, 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 da. And I was like, yeah, but I wanted to be in a particular neighborhood, and the house it was way overvalued. Like the cost of buying that house, I could rent for so much less. It didn't make sense for me. Like $1 million house is what I moved into. I was paying $3,000 a month. And I was like, yeah, it's not even close. I'm just going to go ahead and rent it. Well, that house, the market pushed that value back down. I could have bought that house for $250,000 during that great recession. I bought a ton of houses through Vegas during that recession. Loved it. It was great. I wish I'd kept all of them. I kept just a handful, bought a lot of other places. But it was one of those things where all I had to know is 5% rule. Okay, $1 million house, I could rent it for less than $50,000 a year. I'm renting it. That's it. Simple. Invest the difference. Make sure you're putting that other money that you would have spent into other investments, even other real estate for that matter, and buy assets. Because otherwise, I have a big stinking liability that I'm going to have to pay for. Just remember, the cost of that home ownership of that $1 million house is about $50,000 a year. Ouch. I don't want to necessarily buy that home, even if I think it's going to appreciate. I just need to be smart about it and make sure I'm budgeting. So I use the 5% rule to determine, and it works like a charm. Now, is it the only thing you do? No, but it gets the conversation started. I used it to my benefit. If I had bought that house, man, I would have been hating life about 2 years later. I'd have been going, geez. Other rule, there's seeds and there's seasons. Understand that when you plant seeds, you have to allow them to mature, and you don't want to early harvest. It kind of goes hand in hand with timing. When you are investing in certain types of investment, especially things like oil and gas, especially things like syndications, especially those types of things that take a while to mature, businesses, then I need to be very careful about when I go in and harvest that. I need to allow it to grow, and then I need to know, hey, there's a time to harvest, there's a time to plant, there's a time to stay away and let it just grow and continue to mature. I need to understand that and accept that. I do not go out, buy a property, for example, and think immediately I'm going to sell it and make money. There are folks at particular times that do well, we call that flipping, but I've also seen people get crushed because they were doing it in the wrong season. I remember Las Vegas is a great example during the Great Recession. We've lost 75% of our value. All along that way, there was people that saw a house that was $500,000 and went to $400,000. I'm buying it. I'm going to fix it up and flip it for $500,000 because that's a $500,000 house. The house went down to $200,000. Now what do? They're stuck, right? Because they didn't understand the season, and they didn't understand what planting seeds is about. They didn't let it mature. There are seeds. We do not eat our seed. That is our investment capital. If you eat your seed, you know what it's going to become, right? We don't want to eat our seed. We want to plant our seed, and then we want to understand when it is time to harvest. And it may be a longer period of time. And you're going to just have to learn that. You're going to have to learn that by studying, watching others, listening to those that have come before you. But that is an absolute rule that you do not want to violate. You violate that rule, and it's usually extremely painful. Now let's talk about the types of wealth. There are 4 types of wealth. You need to know the difference between the 4. The first type of wealth is financial wealth. It's having the ability to pay for things, right? I have money. Congratulations. That's a great place to be. But there's other types of wealth. There's social wealth. Hey, I have money and I have status. People are seeing me. I got the nice car. I got the nice house. My neighbors are like, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing with the place, right? There's that type. Or they're watching you on Instagram. You're balling. You're doing all sorts of stuff. And everybody's like, yay, that's social. You're getting feedback. There's 2 other types of wealth. I believe these next 2 types of wealth are more important than those first 2. The next two types of wealth are time wealth, the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. You want to go on vacation, you can go on vacation. You want to go give time and fly out and take care of a relative, you don't need to ask anybody's permission. You can just go do it and it's not going to hurt you. You want to go to Fiji for a month? You can do it. You can travel wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. That is time wealth. And then there's health wealth. Do not sacrifice 3 and 4, time and health, for 1 and 2. Just leave it at that. Do not sacrifice your health and your time chasing social status and money, because it's going to lead to pain. It's going to end up being suffering. You got to look at all 4 and you got to prioritize it. A lot of people that I work with, I'll tell you what, that number 3 is really important and number 4 is really important. You only got one body, right? You got to take care of it. You got to take care of your health. Once that goes, 1 through 3 aren't that important, right? So you always got to be mindful of taking care of yourself. But that 3, the ability to do what you want to do, that is, for most people, that freedom is true wealth. They don't need to have a Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, Ferrari, great house, all these trappings of wealth, right? Because you now know 5% rule, you're looking at your house going, it's a $2 million house. It's $100,000 a year. Oh, I bought a really nice car. Yeah, it costs $3,000 to change the oil and each tire is $3,000. Oh, right? Every time I drive that thing, it's costing me hundreds of dollars. You don't even realize it, right? There's a cost to those things. Do not sacrifice your time. Do not sacrifice your health. And we've all done it. I'm a lawyer. I know what 80-hour, 100 hours feels like. I remember just working. And guess what it did? It was at the expense of number 4. It really took its toll on me. Most people, it does. I was chasing number 1. I was chasing status, number 2. Now I could do whatever I want to do when I want to do it. I like to travel. I like to do things with my wife. We just go all over the place. I love that. It's way more important than 1 or 2. Being able to have that time and then making sure that your health is good. Absolutely. There's 4 types of wealth. 3 and 4 are really important. They're all important, but don't do 1 and 2 at the expense of 3 and 4, ever. Just know that. Number 12, money magnifies. What does that mean? It means money makes you more of what you already are. I've seen this to be true in just all cases. If somebody is a really cool person, money makes them even a cooler person. If you are a sourpuss and you're an angry person, money makes you even a bigger sourpuss and angry. And then you're wondering why money's not making you happy. Money solves money problems. That's it. Money does not solve all the health problems. I mean, in a roundabout way, but you're going to have to do something about that. You're going to have self-control and change things, and you're going to have access to certain things. Money might open up some doors for you, but it's not going to fix it. Money takes care of money issues. If you're unhappy, money's not going to fix that. Now, I will say this, if you want to be happy, learn to be a giver. I don't know too many givers that are unhappy. If you are like some people say, money is the root of all evil. No, loving too much money, doing number 1 at the expense of 3 and 4 is bad, right? That usually causes you all sorts of issues. So if you're just chasing money at the expense of everything, including your integrity and your health, you're going to end up in a bad place, right? It's not that. But if you want to say money doesn't buy happiness, I would say then you haven't given enough away, right? Do things that bring you joy. And it's really hard to be angry and bitter if you're helping other people. I'm just saying it. You could take it for what it's worth. But the rule is money magnifies. So if you are a very miserable, angry person, work on that so that you can enjoy and have joy in the money that you make. And it may not even have to be that much. Like, you might be shocked at how little amount of money, if you have consistent money coming in, how much benefit that can bring your life and how much happiness it can actually cause you to have. All right, number 13, be a student. One thing I've seen over and over again is students of money. It's called learn until you earn, right? Or learn and then take the L away. Learn before you earn. but it's being a student. It's being diligent. It's respecting money. If you're an angry person, you don't want to learn about money and you hate money and money will probably avoid you. Money's not too excited about hanging out with people that hate it, right? So being a student of money, being a student of wealth, looking at all things and saying, what is my why? Like Simon Sinek, right? What is the reason you're doing these things? You start identifying that, you find that you get more happy and you get more money. Starts to become this whole abundant mindset, right? You can be a student. Why do I say this? Because again, mindset will direct your beliefs will create your behaviors. If you're a student, you can work on that 6 inches between your ears, right? The checkup from the neck up. You could do all that if you choose to be a student. And the most successful people are all that I've known. I have 80-plus-year-old friends that I've known for 30-plus years that were super successful, always successful. They always have something they're talking about that's new, that they're learning about. And it could be, I like going to cathedrals. I love going around the world and checking these things out and learning more about how they built them, what they're made out of, like just amazing stuff, right? And you go on the tours, you go up on top. The Duomo in Milan is just insane. The last Gothic cathedral that was built. Like you go to these things, they're always excited about something. The first Gothic one was Notre Dame, by the way. It's coming back, right? But so you have all these different things that you're learning about. And I don't know, just creates happiness and joy. And if you're a student of money, you're learning about different investments, different strategies. It's fun. And it becomes more joyous and you do better. So be a student, learn before you earn. That is true. Number 14, your dollars are your army. Used to call it the golden soldiers going out to battle, right? Well, your money is your army and it's going out and we want it to bring back prisoners. We want it to bring back more money. So you're pushing it out there, right? Treat it well. Don't let your army get captured or destroyed. Don't just send it into eradication. Don't send your army into a battle that it can't win, right? Don't go throw your money away. Treat it like it's your army and that what it's supposed to be going out is going out and doing things, bringing money back. Investing in assets is a prime example. Don't go throw your money after a bunch of liabilities, right? Let your assets pay for your liabilities. Let your assets create, like, hey, you want to have a Ferrari? Have a Ferrari, but I don't want you working for it. I want your assets paying for that liability. You want to have a big house? Have a big house. Have a monster house, but have your assets paying for it, not you. But you treat your money like it's an army. It's going out. I'm creating the investments and it's bringing back prisoners that those prisoners pay for my liabilities. That's what it is they're going out and creating more. It could be in the form of interest. It could be in the form of dividends. It could be in capital gains, both long and short. Maybe I'm doing covered calls and making it. Maybe I'm doing cash secured puts and making more money. Maybe I'm getting interest off of peer-to-peer lending. Maybe I'm buying notes. Maybe I'm selling assets. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and use my army to go out and do things that are going to create more wealth. And that becomes really, really important. And then the last one is understand the difference between money versus wealth. And remember, there's 4 types of wealth, right? Understand the difference between money, which can solve money problems, and wealth, what we're actually using it for. And I'm going to use an example from none other than Kurt Vonnegut. He actually had a really great story. If I could actually read it, it helps if I can read it. And this is what he wrote. He said, true story, word of honor. Joseph Heller, an important and funny writer, now dead, and I were at a party given by a billionaire on Shelter Island. I said, Joe, how does it make you feel to know that our host only yesterday may have made more money than your novel Catch-22 has earned in its entire history? And Joe said, I've got something he can never have. And I said, what on earth could that be, Joe? And Joe said, the knowledge that I have enough. Not bad. Now rest in peace. There's a lot of truth to that. It's figuring out what makes you happy. We don't have to chase status. I've known this, I call them rich, miserable bastard. The people that are rich, they're unhappy. They're always trying to get more. Remember It's a Wonderful Life. And, they got the angry Mr. Potter, right? He's miserable. and he's always trying to get more money. He's always trying to get more money. He thinks that's not going to solve it. That's not going to solve it. Or, Scrooge. Let's look at Scrooge. You could have an epiphany maybe and realize there's more. It's not about money. It's about wealth. And that wealth might be time freedom, the freedom to do what you care about, being healthy, being happy, being around the people that you care about. Maybe it's, I want to be around my kids or my grandkids, or I want to be able to travel and see faraway lands, all that stuff. That's wealth. That's not money. That's wealth. And I'll leave it at that. If you believe that I missed something, put it in the comments. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you already liked, please keep that going. And if you know of anybody who would benefit from this, please share it. Otherwise, those are the 15 rules of money.